There, much better.
Well, we do both.
It's time.
Good morning. Welcome to Unity of Boerne, as I like to call it, the house that love built. I'm so glad to see you here this morning. It's a beautiful day because we gather together in a spirit of oneness to affirm the truth of our being. And this, what we do is see how that plays out in our lives through our ministry, through this message, through the work we do here, through the many different avenues there are for ministry. And you'll learn more about that. I give you greetings, and again, so glad you're here. BJ.
No, Indy.
Oh.
Look at your order service.
We help if I do.
All right, everybody, let's sing a song.
Okay.
So let's begin
Wait
with.
a minute.
Oh.
Sorry.
Okay.
BJ's first, and then I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I messed up things by
All right,
saying
in the
no.
order of service,
Okay.
she's got, on the PowerPoint, she has the Joy song and then BJ.
Oh, okay. It's different on the order of service.
No, it's the same on the order, last
Is it?
order of service she put out and printed and put in the back.
Well, I'll just give you a greeting and then we'll sing our song. How about that? It's a wonderful song, and I'm so happy that India chose it today. Good morning.
Good morning.
Oh, I forgot I can do this. This is the day the Lord hath made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. And please stand and let's have this wonderful joy song.
I am free, I am unlimited, there are no chains that bind me. I am free, I am unlimited, right now, right now. I am free, I am unlimited, there are no chains that bind me. I am free, I am unlimited, right now, right now. I am free, I am unlimited, there are no chains that bind me. I am free.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, India. That's a wonderful, wonderful song to begin our day. I want to extend a warm welcome to everyone who's here. Is there anyone with us today for the first time? Well, wonderful. Would you please stand and tell us your name and where you're from and anything else you wanted to say?
My name's Lucas. I'm from Akron, Ohio.
Well, it's wonderful to have you today, Lucas. Thank you. And with your grandparents, Stan, I know you were here last week, but we didn't get to really recognize you.
I am Nicole, and we live here, but Akron, Germany.
Oh,
We
well,
live in a Lotus, so we're from here.
wonderful. Well,
Don.
Don, that's correct.
Yes.
well, thank you for coming back today. And we had one more.
Yes. So I'm Karen, and I moved from Washington, D.C. I live in San Antonio, and I'm a longtime Unity member and have been in Unity's many places. And I'm a foreign service officer, and so I was living in Rome, but I was tuning into Unity of Washington, D.C., which I've gone to off and on during my 20-year career as a diplomat.
Well, wonderful. Well, welcome each person here, and we have one more.
My name is Ray Vargas. I just moved here in March, so I'm a newcomer to this little beautiful town. And I met this wonderful person here, brought me to church. So, yes.
Well,
yes,
we're
look forward-
happy to have you
Well, thank
today,
you.
and we hope we'll see all of your faces, and one day it'll be without masks, but we're so happy that you're here. Just turn to the person next to you and say, "Good morning, I'm glad you're here."
Good morning.
In our Unity tradition, we offer a hug sometimes, and that won't be long, I think, before we'll have that. We've got some wonderful opportunities for our Unity guests and members coming up this week. Many activities and ways to get together, though not in this building right now at this time. So I wanted you to have on your calendars, it's also listed in your order of service, that on Sunday evenings at 7 p.m. We do have a book study, and the group is beginning this evening with a new book entitled What the Mystics Know. I kind of got interested in that title. So tune in, and the login information is in your order of service, so be sure and take that home with you. The other opportunity is the Course in Miracles that's presented by Bob Patterson. And so he has a class on Monday evenings and on Tuesday afternoons. Again, this is a Zoom class, a virtual class. And then on Tuesday evenings, this is interesting, it's Let's Get Metaphysical. It's a meditation time on Tuesday evenings, and it's a joint effort, I believe, with this Let's Get Physical. It's sponsored by another of the Unity churches in the area. And then on Thursdays, we have the wonderful Meditating with Unity Friends, the Pathlighters. That's at 8 o'clock in the evening, and Reverend Jay is the originator, I do believe. Is that correct?
Right.
He originated this group, invited other groups, and now we have Unity churches from around the state that participate, and then they tell a friend about it. So it's quite a lovely group, and time to share and a time for meditation. And if you'll refer to your order of service, your login information is there. Now, here in person, we have another opportunity, and that is we do our volunteers, our worship assistants, and our daily word readers. And so at the back of the room, we do have a sign-up sheet that you can sign up for any Sunday in June. I understand they're all open. And please do that. It's a wonderful gift to yourself to participate and to feel the vibration of this wonderful community of Unity of Boerne. As you may have noticed when you came up, at this time we are still leaving our offering box and our prayer box on the porch, on the table, so you can put your prayer request in that box and your offering in the offering box. They're both marked. We'll continue that at least through the end of this month, and then the board will evaluate how much longer we want to continue. We're just, are you happy that we're able to meet in person?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Amen to the right, hallelujah to the Oh.
Sounds like a song.
Oh, it might be. So, those are our opportunities. Take advantage of them, and Reverend Jay, did you have anything that you wanted to add to the announcements?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, let us continue in worship, and we will have our daily word read by Chris Diaz.
She's not here, is
But I
she?
don't see Chris. Oh,
I'll do it. I'll be the stand-in bride.
Oh, okay, wonderful. We missed you last week, so we're happy to see you today.
Good morning. Today's daily word is faith. My faith keeps me focused on God. I may not be able to control what happens around me, but I am always free to choose what happens within me. My perception determines my experience. I begin with faith. I choose to see the vibrant wholeness that is present even during illness. I choose to see the heart and mind to the harmony that I know is possible even in the midst of apparent discord. When my needs appear greater than my resources, I remind myself all supply springs forth from the inexhaustible well of divine substance. I am reassured by remembering all situations are temporary and God is greater than every circumstance. Through my faith, I align my thoughts with the divine, and I believe in this truth that sets me free. If you had faith the size of a mustard seed, you could say to this mulberry tree, "Be uprooted and planted in the sea," and it would obey you. Luke 17:6. Thank you.
Please stand and we will have our congregational affirmation together. It'll be on the screen by Reverend Jay.
Together we say, in the infinity of life, I stand present, receptive, and in harmony with the flow of life. The answers I seek come to me with ease and under grace for my highest good. I cooperate fully in the unfoldment of the blessings that are mine right here and right now, and so it is.
Please remain standing, and we will have our opening prayer and affirmation, and let us affirm that together. Unity of Boerne is a vibrant, loving, spiritual community, providing a sacred space for personal growth. We honor and celebrate the Christ within all people. Thank you. Be seated. Isn't that a beautiful confirmation? So I'll now turn the service over to Reverend Jay. He'll have the prayer, blessing of the prayer request, and for the remainder of the service.
Thank you, DJ. In Unity, we know of one type of prayer, answered prayer. And we affirm in our praying collectively in a united way the good, the pure, the powerful, the positive, the wonderful, because we believe and we affirm that that is God's will for us. And what we do is simply surrender our sense of lessness for the sense of allness. So in this time, I would ask that you would bring to your mind your highest, deepest joys, concerns, celebrations, upsets, whatever they may be, and we hold them in front of the pure light of Spirit. So let us pray. Infinite Presence, we give thanks for the gift of prayer, that we can hold our intentions and our concerns and our celebrations before your loving light, and know that you make things right because you make us right as we recognize your presence within us. Please hear our prayers of thanksgiving and joy and praise that it is done to us as we believe, and knowing that where two or more are gathered in your name, there you are in the midst of them also. We give thanks that your perfect will is being done right now in the lives of your dear ones. And so it is. Amen.
Today's message song is Wings of Butterflies, a song I wrote about making a glorious new start, like a butterfly does when it is reborn, which sometimes happens because of the gift of change.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I would like to add something about Pathlighters that you heard. Our own Bertie Shalker has done amazing work in being able to unite the churches around the state of Texas and beyond. It really couldn't have happened without her dedication and the dedication of the other facilitators, Jennifer Gates and now Diane Pope, who some of you I'm sure remember is part now of this online ministry that has taken off. I appreciate all that have assisted in Pathlighters, and I want to recognize that. Without them, I don't believe it could have been done the way it's been done. And if you have a chance on Thursday nights to come at 8 o'clock, it's pure magic to see what happens in intentions personally and collectively. I invite you to be a part of it. This morning I'd like to talk to you about the gift of change. And I think that most of us feel as if change sometimes is not a gift, but an impediment into our lives. You know, they say that life is what happens to us when we're busy making other plans. And I found that to be true in my life. Sometimes I have resented an unwanted change, especially if I perceived it as being negative. But then I like to step back and take the higher view. What if we had a life that was absolutely planned from beginning to end with no changes, with, let's just say, everything 72-degree weather, sunny skies, and no issues and nothing to overcome? We might enjoy that for a month, maybe some of us for a year, maybe more. But I have a feeling that most of us would say, I'm ready for something different. We have this innate desire that we're born with to expand and to grow. And I believe we're here to learn lessons that help us do that. And the way we learn these lessons is through the changes that are presented to us. Now we could say, I wouldn't choose these changes if I had it to do over again if they've been painful. But remember, you get to say, I wouldn't have chosen these because you went through it. The question is, did you go through it and grow through it, or did you go through it and get bitter because of it? Some of us feel as if when we are presented with a change that we don't expect, we feel that it defines us in some way. For example, we may go into something with high hopes, a relationship, a business, any number of things with high hopes and really feeling like we're affirming the best, and then all of a sudden something collides with our ideal and we become rather reticent, sad, negative, and we say, I'll never let that happen again. And we let one instance become the enemy, so to speak, of what can be later. In other words, we carry the hurts and the upsets from changes past, sometimes into the new parts of our lives that are going to bring about change. So what happens is, if we're not careful, we take just a general negativity that goes round in our minds, and we meet life situations with that. And then we say, drat the luck. It just happens to me. Why is that so? Because we've set our internal subconscious computer to produce the results we expect. The one thing that the human ego loves more than anything else is to be right. One of the things that people will say to other people when they have had an issue or a change, they love to say, I told you so. It just always happens that way. And that's where we get the idea misery loves company. But I prefer to say, even if I didn't like the change, what is the lesson here? What is it that I need to apply in my life to make me walk up in a bigger, grander, and better way? It began for me, and I spoke about this last week in our Pathlighters group, by finding a daily word in a laundromat in 1983. Actually, it was August 22nd, 1983. And in our Pathlighters group, that daily word was read. And I found I began to get a little choked up. The reason why is I remember that young man in that laundromat. I remember a broken relationship, a business challenge, a family problem, a feeling at the very tender age that I was, that it was wrecked for me, and that I was a victim of circumstance, and that the best thing that I could do is just go on out with my friends, shoot pool, drink beer, go to work, and go through it. But something in me said there's a better way. And I also had a wonderful role model as a father, my father, who was always asking me in one way or another to come up higher. Never said it that way, but I got the feeling. It's always, Jay, you can do it, you can do better. Finding that daily word in that laundromat, those words resonated to the very depth of my soul. What it said was, I can begin again. Now, most people don't think about beginning again when they're 22, 23 years old. That's generally something we think of when you're a little older. But I felt I was in such a crevice or such a place that it was really no way for me to get out of it. And I just had to sort of default to my usual pain-killing ways. Hanging around with my friends, being a member of the Ain't It Awful Club, saying life's a and then you die, all that. But there was a part of me that resonated to that in the daily word. And the interesting thing about it was when I went home after washing the clothes, I found a book that was entitled Light from Many Lamps by Lillian Eichler Watson. Some of you may be familiar with it. She quotes some of the great thoughts of the philosophers and the thinkers of all time. And one of the things when I opened the book that the page fell upon was a message from a woman that I wouldn't think I had anything in common with. You'll probably know the name, Mary Pickford. She wrote a small book called Why Not Try God? She was a Christian Scientist, and that book was wildly successful in the mid-30s. But the one thing that stuck out with me was the line that she wrote, "Today is a new day. You will get out of it just what you put into it. And if you've made mistakes, even serious ones, there is always another chance for you, because this thing we call failure is not the falling down, but the staying down." It resonated with me probably also because I had played football in high school, and I remember the staying down was the failing down, according to my coach. But to get up and suck it up and get on with it, so to speak, gave me a chance to do better. Might hurt, but I was at least in the game. And through the words of Mary Pickford and some Christian Scientists and some Unity people and some Science of Mind people, as it turned out, I began to believe in the part of me that was reaching out for new life, that was affirming life in me that could be better, bigger, and grander. I reordered my priorities. I dropped some of those friends. I started to change where I went. Oh, it wasn't that I was an alcoholic or anything like this. I just enjoyed the numbness of shooting pool, having a beer, and complaining after work. I still enjoy shooting pool. I don't drink just because I've seen it can cause a lot of problems. Don't have any problem with people doing it. But for me, I decided I just wanted to have a lot of clarity. That was a very pivotal moment in my life. And I describe this to you for a certain reason. Because every one of you right now are at the meeting point of two places. The past, the now, three places, the now and the future. We live only in the now. That is a point that I've made many times to you in these talks. We can only live now. And it's what we bring with us from the past, and it's what we expect in the future that comprise now. Now, I have the idea that people feel certain ways about life. I know I did way back there. That life happens to me, by me, through me, or as me. When it happens to me, we say that's victimhood. We all know people who repeat the same relationships, have the same abusive situations happen, have the same dysfunction going on. That's when life is happening to them. And they say, I'm helpless, I'm a victim, leave me alone, I'm getting by the best I can. When life happens by you, I believe that's hustle and motivation. And that's another thing I did at that time. I felt like if I doubled my speed, even if I was on the wrong road, if I doubled my speed in my business and my work, I'd feel much better. Things would turn out. Wasn't quite that easy. Then the third way is having life happen through you, which is the flow. Being in what they call the Tao, the everlasting flow. And you are all familiar, I'm sure, with it. Lao Tse's Tao Te Ching. But I think mastery is when life happens as you or as me. And the way that I found with those remarks about starting again, whether the daily word, whether they were from an old silent screen star, whether they were from my father, or whether they were from the Christian Science practitioner who lived down the street. It was a conflagration that came together all at one time. It was as if the universe said, I have a message for you, Jay. And you may be young, and you may be not the experience that you'd like to have, right, when you're getting all this. It was all very, very interesting and yet confusing. But one thing that I did was I affirmed. I wrote down these affirmations. The one that I remember saying is, I am open to my new beginning and what God has in store for me. I repeated that almost as a mantra. And things began to change. Things lined up with the inner intention that I had during that affirmation. And life quit happening to me. And for a while, I did the hustle and the motivation, and I tried harder, but there was always that intention, show me something better. Truth material came into my hands. The books from Unity, I ordered them. I ordered all kinds of new thought material because it resonated with me in the deepest part of my existence. And at that time, and I want to self-disclose this to you, I may have been called to ministry and I didn't know it. But eventually I answered that call, and I've never been happier. Never been happier, and life has been a continuous flow of wonder. Not always easy, and not without challenges, but it has been wonderful when I answered that call, when I said, I'm willing to get my own egotistical idea about what I think I'm not good enough for, and allow the Spirit to come through, and if I need to, remake me into what I need to be so that I can give this message to those who can benefit from it because it touched me so deeply. There is no failure so complete, no thing, nothing that you've been through in your life that can stop you from standing up on the inside and seeking a new path. You know, I was sitting around with a group of ministers one time, and we were talking about the 12-step programs and the lives being changed. And they were shaking their heads about how that happens. And I said, I wonder why we shake our heads when we see people reaching out for new life and making it. We talk about it. Why is it a surprise? In one way or another, it's happened to all of us, right? And they had to agree that such was the case to one degree or another. We speak about the truth that God has revealed, not only in Scripture, but through the masters, ascended, living, that were and will be, because Spirit speaks individually through people. But if you notice one thing that's in common with all of them, it's the idea that you don't have to stay the way you are. You don't have to be disgusted with circumstances. You can form a different concept of yourself. And by the concept you form, you are outlining your life. Notice, I'm not saying giving instructions to Spirit. I'm saying being willing to let that Spirit, let the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, come in and line up the places inside you that you feel are unsure, crooked, whatever it may be. It will do it. But what you have to do is get your own opinion about that out of the way. I think our church today, the traditional church, suffers sometimes because there's an idea that proformed and preformed packaged religion will save somebody. In other words, if you repeat the words that the higher ups say you need to, and do the things physically that they say, that you have a packaged, already perfect new life. The problem is that you're exchanging your own inner knowing and your own inner knowledge for somebody else's that says one size fits all. And I can tell you, if it's one thing I know, one size doesn't fit all. One change doesn't fit all. Do you understand what I mean when I'm talking about this morning? We need to have what we call the ups as well as the downs and sometimes the sideways to make a life. To make a life that we love and we can look back on and say, if I had to really go through that, I wouldn't have chosen it, but boy, did I grow. At least we don't have to put our opinion about it as being negative. We could say, well, I'm here. I went through it. I grew through it. And it prepared me for what was next. See, life does that. As much as we want things to be the way they are and have always been, it's going to change. Last year taught us that. We had change forced on us that none of us really expected. And some of us got bitter. And some of us decided to educate ourselves or write or journal or maybe, do some self-care. And then I know some people that just said, I'm just angry. And you know what? As this thing lifts, guess what's happened? They're still angry. And they're going to be angry no matter what happens with the pandemic because they've planted those seeds already and they're going to sprout unless they take their intention, roll it back and say, I forgive myself for judging whatever it is as being not good, wrong, whatever. And I'm not saying that we're supposed to like this pandemic. All we're supposed to do is reserve our judgment and say, I seek the highest good throughout this apparent confusion, this apparent upset. Events come and go. Scripture says it came to pass, not to stay, but what stays is the eternal truth of God, the truth principles that we celebrate in unity. God is omnipresent, omniscient. God is always good. Prayer changes things, and we are called on to live our lives through the inspiration and the knowledge that we receive through those wonderful times of prayer, meditation, visualization, contemplation. Whatever that you've gone through that's brought you here, or that you're going through right now, or that somebody you know is going through right now, is the perfect place for them or you to come up higher, to have a different concept. Have you noticed sometimes when we see people who have gone through some horrific things, like I knew not personally, but I knew of a fellow named W. Mitchell who was burned over 90% of his body. He was not able to do the things that he had done prior to this horrible accident. He became a motivational speaker and said that event was seminal in his life. Not that he wanted to be burned, he wanted to have the change of mind. And he said, I could have changed my mind without the burn. If I had just realized that it's really all up here. Life occurs inside here. If you notice, we're making the judgments, the opinions, and the concepts we live by, and then we get sometimes angry at it. And we project that outward. And what happens is we find other people that resonate with our anger and saying the same things, and we say, see, it's just awful. Kind of like my friends and I did back at the pool hall. Oh, it wasn't that terrible. It wasn't quite, let's just say it was a billiards place. And I did have a lot of fun, but it was that idea that we're just oppressed. We just can't catch a break. And I knew that was wrong. And I'm going to tell you one of the reasons that I knew it was wrong. And if you hear me mention my father, forgive me. I am going through a year of grief. But I want to tell you one thing about him you may not know. You see, when he was 14 in 1944, he got polio. And he was an active, healthy young man. His father was a surgeon. In fact, my grandfather lived long enough to do some things to me. And I've been going through some pictures and cards lately and letters, and some things have been brought home to me about my family, about me, about who I was raised with. But my father had polio, and it was 1944, and there was not the Salk vaccine. Nothing like that. My grandfather said, I'm going to treat you at home. You're going to have to stay in bed most of the summer. We want to make sure that you're not paralyzed, and I don't know that I can say that. And my father had to spend long hours and time and days in bed when he wanted to do other things, and also when he felt terrible. But he found something. Sort of like I found with the silent scream. He found a poem called Invictus. And one of the things that I found before he passed away was that he and I shared the love of that poem. out of the night that covers me. Black as a pit from pole to pole. I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeonings of chance, my head is bloody, but I'm bound. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shade, and yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how strait the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. I am the master of my fate, and I'm the captain of my soul. It was my dad's favorite poem, and you know what? It was mine too. We didn't know that about each other until it was toward the end of his life. What does that say? Is that stoicism on the part of W.E. Henley, who wrote that? Well, he was in a tubercular ward, having lost one leg when he wrote it. He was in a situation that most people would find less than advantageous. But out of that came that monumental, wonderful tribute to the human spirit. And you could spiritualize that. And indeed, the poem was tried to be spiritualized later by Dorothy Day, called My Captain, out of the light that dazzles me. But I won't repeat that. Both of them are beautiful in their own way, but what it speaks to is internal and inherent strength and power to choose our way in the midst of circumstances that we'd like to do anything but endure. I invite you this morning to look inside yourself and remember, when life happens to you, through you, that's one thing. But when it happens, two things, but when it happens as you, you've arrived. That means that you're open, ready, and receptive for the blessings that you know are coming regardless of what they may be. Haven't you heard, and I heard it some time ago, opportunities sometimes arrive in work clothes. Opportunities sometimes don't look like opportunities until you get into it. Bring your best mind to it. The Christ mind, the God mind, whatever you want to call it, the mind that is the true part of you, and it says, how can I make a difference, go through this, and grow through this? That's our challenge as human beings. And I believe that when we get to the end of our mortal existence, if we're judged for anything at all, and I don't believe in a final judgment, but I believe that we'll be asked a question. What did we do with the life we were given? And my answer to that, hopefully, because I don't know every opportunity I may have missed, but I do know my soul knows. I may have thought I needed something, but I didn't, because something else happened. Because my soul, my inner spirit knew. But I know one thing, the answer that I really want to give is that as best I can, I loved it all. Even the things that hurt, I tried to see them as lessons designed for my loving further growth. And that's sort of, I think, what Jesus felt in the Garden of Gethsemane. His idea was, I don't want to go through this if possible, but nevertheless. And what did he say to his Father? I'm open, I'm ready. I believe it wasn't by divine fiat that Christ was crucified. I believe it was by angry, authoritarian religion that were angry at this man from Galilee who threatened to turn their world upside down by saying these things like the Sabbath was made for man, not the other way around. And that the woman caught in adultery by those men who were about to stone her, what did he say? You who were without sin, you cast the first stone. Jesus was constantly upsetting apple carts in favor of love and growth. And we're supposed to be following that. And I'm here today to challenge us to do that. Myself, you, everyone I come in contact, we could always do better. And we could always be open to this now moment. And we certainly can always have love as our guiding force. Not that we're wishy-washy and that we don't have certain opinions and ideals. Of course we do. But we realize that love allows for changing our mind and attitude sometimes. Sometimes if you're a set product, you can't grow. I love bonsai trees, but you know how you've seen the Japanese bonsais, they're beautiful, but they dwarf them to make them the way they are. They're supposed to grow bigger, but they're beautiful, but they're stuck in their position. That's what I understand from a horticulturist. They were bred to be beautiful, but not to grow. We could be beautiful and not grow, but I'd rather have my branches all over here, my leaves over there, just skid into my life and say, holy jeez, that was a ride. Because most of the time, those are the fun parts of life. When things aren't necessarily planned out and perfect, and you dive into something with all your enthusiasm, and you take a few knocks and you get beat around here and there, and you say, boy, I wouldn't have missed that for anything. That's life, that's fun, that's openness, that's receptivity. I invite you this morning, have a different idea about life and what it does and how it does it, and let it happen as you. And one other thing, when I say to you, through you, as you, always remember to the right of that, there is something else that I think is most important for you. Because no matter what level you are on those 4 places that I talked about, life is always happening for you. All you have to do is make the decision to reach out for that, resonate with that, practice the power of now, love the moment, and be present. I thank you for being here this morning. I have found a place inside myself when I talk about this that resonates so much that I can barely keep my mouth shut about it. So I thank you for listening and for being a part of it. I Can Begin Again, August 22, 1983. It was true then, it's true now, and it'll be true August 22nd, 2083. It's just the way of God, the way of life. Thank you. So it is. I invite each one of you now to be aware of your presence, your feet on the floor, your hands in your lap.
Surely the presence.
We're doing a new order of service and I'm learning. So excuse me, I'll be right back with the meditation.
In the midst of his children, the Lord said that he would be. It doesn't take very many. It can be just 2 or 3. And I feel that same sweet spirit that I felt oft times before. Surely I can say I've been with the Lord. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel his mighty power and his grace. There's a holy hush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel his mighty power and his grace. There's a holy hush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place.
I invite each of you to be conscious of where you are, feet on the floor, perhaps your palms upraised in your laps. And in this place where we are physically, we know we are united with people holding wonderful intentions for their lives, for themselves. And we feel the gentle presence of spirit that starts at the top of our head as a wonderful feeling of putting things right, whatever's needed in our emotions, physically, mentally. Right now, we're claiming healing as we feel the Spirit move through our throats, our shoulders, our midsection, our legs, our knees, our feet. We're aware of a beautiful presence of golden light that is in front of us. That is the God presence within each one of us. That never leaves us for even a moment. That is, as said, in this presence we live and move and have our being. And since we know the kingdom of heaven is within, we visit a familiar place. Or perhaps we've not gone there in a while, or maybe an unfamiliar, but in this place all is understood, all is forgiven, and most of all, love is present. Whatever healing we need, we claim it now. We know the universal source energy that keeps the planets in their space and the stars in their place is the same energy that flows through us. And we remove by, in this moment of meditation, by an act of will, we remove all blocks to the presence of this wonderful power of love that sustains us, that guides us. We reach out for this new life. We refresh ourselves. Come all that thirst, says the Master. And the only place that that can be is inside ourselves, expressing as ourselves. We take a deep breath, feeling relaxed, calm, reinvigorated. Our spiritual batteries are recharged. Wherever we need healing in our body, we accept it right now. We place that loving energy where it needs to be. Spirit asks the question, what will you have? And we answer through our intention. Our intention towards ourselves is loving, caring, sharing. And when we do that for ourselves, we're able to do it for others. We give thanks for this wonderful moment of recreation. God is present here and now, expressing in you, through you, and as you. And as we come and bring our attention to the present moment, we feel renewed. We feel ready and strong to face what is ours to face, to make different choices if we need, and with a commitment to love ourselves as we are loved through this whole process. We give thanks for this sacred time. And so it is. I know that each one of you know, goes without saying, that in order to do ministry and have a church, we do need your tithes, your donations, your gifts. The gifts of love from the heart sustain us and allow us to do the many things that we do at Unity of Boerne with the loving spirit that we reflect and that we want to show in our community. I invite you right now to give your best gift to our ministry, to our church, knowing that as you give, you receive the blessed law of life. But I also know that on the law of averages, there are some people that don't have something to give necessarily in their hand tangibly. So I would say picture something you're thankful for and compress it to the size of these two hands. See it, visualize it right now of something that you're very thankful for or you want to see an increase of. And whether you are giving tangible gifts or you are declaring your thanks for an intangible gift, we repeat the following. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And I send it forth with my blessings and my love.
Freely, freely I have received. Freely, freely I give. Divine love through me blesses all that I am, all that I give and receive. All that I give and receive.
For those of you who are online watching, I want you to know that we do have our PayPal button on our Facebook page. You just press it and you're able to give a donation. For those of you who would prefer to send in a gift, our address is Unity of Boerne, P.O. Box 1973, Boerne, Texas 78006. That's P.O. Box 1973, Boerne, Texas 78006. And for you Pathlighters who are tuning in, welcome. It's a joy to see you, and I hope to see you right here as soon as you're able.
Love can build a bridge between your heart and mine. Love can build a bridge. Don't you think it's time? Don't you think it's time?
Put together our peace song.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.
Yeah, me too. I'm enjoying it.
Good to see you.